competition, your chance to win some cool prizes with a fun topic of the day. But joining us now in the studio, our friends from Team CTS, Central Technology Solutions, Tommy Vaughn and Sherry Arthur are here. Good morning. Welcome back.
Morning. Thanks for having us.
We talked to you a week ago when the threat of the cyber attacks in Ukraine was very real as far as how Russia was trying to cripple Ukraine ahead of an actual physical invasion. They were crippling them through cyber attacks. So we said we'd check back with you this week. And Tommy, you just got back from a conference where you were among cyber industry experts in our country, where you guys are really having to kind of reevaluate everything you do in light of what's happened in Ukraine. Is that the case?
Well, it is. I mean, the industry as a whole, when COVID hit and the work from home, and Russia's a big player in this, right? And so we're seeing that. We've been adjusting and moving, and the event was phenomenal. It was U.S. and Canada that was both there discussing it. But there's something that's happening here. We're seeing it on TV. We're hearing about it, which I want to talk about the new bill that they just passed related to how to manage that information. But when we look at what has happened by this bully, Russia, going into Ukraine and attacking all these other countries, people, including us, which were at high risk, is something that I don't think they realized. Some of the toughest hacking groups here in the U.S. We're very familiar with Anonymous because they say they do things. There's also groups bigger that don't say they do things that do it. So when you have Microsoft, who just came out and they brought out the big guns because they're Microsoft, and they joined the fight, and they didn't have to. And I've heard it kind of related to when Henry Ford changed over and started using his factories to create military weapons to fight, right? We're seeing the same thing in the industry, and I think it's great when you have a company like Microsoft who does not have to stay on the sideline, or can stay on the sidelines, that doesn't. So it's pretty exciting to see the criminals,
right,
and the big players come together to fight the bully.
Do you want to give us an idea of what they do? Because apparently this is some kind of wiper malware that had not been seen before. Tell us about what a wiper is, and then what Microsoft did.
Sure, absolutely. So what's interesting, and when you say wipe, it's kind of it's a neat way to say it. But what they do, and they start with backups because why not be an efficient hacker? So it's a software, it's a malware that has been modified to get into the network, find your data, find where your data is being backed up, erase or write over all of your backups, then write over your live data, which pretty much makes your system, worthless, and your backups you can't restore from because those are gone as well. And the idea for that is not ransomware, but they used a ransomware to get into the network and to detonate this package, and boom, there it is. Gone.
And then Microsoft from 5,000 miles away was able to detect it and just, get into the fray.
Right. So normally it would take more time, right, to build something, to find it, to identify it. But since what we believe Russia did was they modified an existing, malware that's normally used to gain ransom, right? They used that. It's kind of like the shot. That you're going to take the shot because we had this already working virus and we changed these proteins and there it is. It's kind of the same thing with the software. So Microsoft was able to say, oh, here's the framework. We're going to be able to fix it, even though this is not necessarily our business, since we are Microsoft and most platforms are built on Windows. I mean, even the AWS, the Amazon, Google data centers, all of these players are running a Microsoft platform somewhere within their facilities.
We've heard about when you have groups trying to prevent terrorist attacks, like physical terrorist attacks, like the FBI and the CIA, and they will say the terrorists only have to be lucky once. We have to be lucky every time, because all they need to do is one time getting through, and that would be deemed successful. And I imagine it's a similar situation here with you all in the cyber industry feeling like, if there's just this there's this barrage of attempts to try to get through, and you have to be 100%, or they're going to get through on that one try. I mean, is that how it is?
They do only need to get in one time, and once they're in, then they can do things to make sure they stay in. And that's usually the first thing they do when you get when something happens, they don't immediately lock your computer down. They get in, they see what they can get, they gather the information, they take what they want, they make sure that if they get out, there's another way to get in. 2-3 weeks from now, something detonates, right? And that's where there's software that can look for that, right? And see it. So it's not always just the malware software out there. It's gathering data, then transmitting, and then they make the decision on how they're going to move forward with it. It's really unfortunate that there are so many, bad actors in bad states. And let's be clear, Russia's doing this. We're hearing about it. It's not just Russia. It's China. It's these other countries. They have high-rise buildings full of people that this is their only job, is to attack other countries. Like, that's what they do.
It is their warfare, part of their warfare.
And it's effective. I mean, if you imagine if we turned off, you shut down like we talked about last time, what if we went 1 hour with no internet in all of Virginia? How would that affect?
Oh, a week ago we were talking about this.
Man, how would I check Twitter?
Anthony started like sweating bullets when we even brought up that possibility. Well, so you're at this meeting with hundreds of other cybersecurity experts, and you all kind of have a roadmap moving forward. You want to talk about that?
Right. So I think it's important to have an idea of like what would happen. People today. I'm a big fan of the Second Amendment, right? You get to choose how you want to protect yourself, right? You can decide, do I want to carry a gun? Do I want to go learn jiu-jitsu, which I would encourage you to. But you have to figure out ways to take care of yourself, because what happens when there's an event, right? So we call that the boom. So you have right of the boom, left of the boom. So what are you going to do when X happens? How are you prepared? What are you doing to prevent that? Just like you're not going to go to a place that I'm not going to show up in Ukraine without some way to protect myself for a reason. So the idea is, with cyber, what are you doing to protect yourself? What are you doing to identify something is happening? And then how are you going to react to that? And how are you going to recover from it? And a lot of times people have no idea, and there's a lot of different ways to look at that, and people think that's just for a business, but it's actually for you individually. That can happen, and you can be weaponized. Your social media presence has value, and it can be used to hurt your friends and family. And how would you like to be that person, right? I'm sure everybody here knows somebody that's like, I've been locked out of my Facebook. Oh no, what do I do now? And Facebook's not going to help you. They can't call Facebook. And then somebody else has got you in, and they're now you, and they're sending messages to your family and friends saying, hey, check this out. They're clicking on it. It's detonating. Then from that, they're checking their email at work. Now the person's got access to your work. So you realize that you could be the reason that your company gets in trouble. You could be the reason that your grandma gets a call from some hacker, a physical phone call, and they're trying to verify her Amazon package. They saw that she actually got ordered that you sent her, and they need to verify her credit card. Real things.
It is so confusing. You really start to even second guess, like, did I really order an Amazon package and you don't think you did, or maybe you did. And Sherry, you were talking about the burnout in the industry, because it's relentless, the pressure to try to keep protecting people from the attackers.
Yeah, I want to spotlight our team CTS, the IT side, and everybody there as well. They're working nonstop. They are so dedicated to the industry and so dedicated to our customers that they find and they discover and they block and they protect, and I just give them so many kudos every single day, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And definitely the industry of the cyber world, people who are in the cyber world are definitely kind of feeling a little bit of a burnout, because you can almost compare this to 2020, right? So you had the COVID eruption and everybody had to go home. Well, then business owners had to discover, okay, how can I still connect with my customers? Well, you got that connection and you worked it. Now you have your ways, right? You kind of are set in your ways with a new norm, right? Well, take that, multiply it by 10, because that's the cyber industry. So we not only had to help those customers, those business owners, to get back to working at home or working at the office, but now we have to make sure everything is secure beyond what it is back then. So our team is really good, and I'm proud of them, and I don't know nothing else to say other than that. I'm just proud of them.
So I do think it's important to point out, if you took, and there's studies out there, if you took everybody that's in the cybersecurity industry or going for it, they're getting an education to enter this field. If you gave all of them jobs right now, It's still not half of the jobs that are open in this particular field.
Yeah.
But
And when you talk about, you mentioned that other countries have just entire buildings of people whose job it is just to mess around with everybody else's networks, and we need more of those people on our own, right?
I just back to that point. The United States would certainly never be conducting any sort of nefarious sort of cyber warfare attacks in other countries. We would never do anything like that, right?
Right, we would never do anything like that at all, or be part of other groups and help do things like that. It would never happen.
I mean, it's kind of what we like to think.
Right.
But, I mean, there's stories where, the Biden administration is wondering, well, maybe we should move some train switches in Russia and so they can't resupply their troops, or maybe we mess with the power. And I just, where does all that stuff end? If nation states start doing it back and forth to each other.
And they have been. I mean, Russia's done that to Ukraine before. I mean,
That's a
they've
good point,
logged in and, took their water pumps and turned them all the way up and blew the pumps up. I mean, these are all real things. That's why we go back to, what is your posture? What is your protection? How did you detect? How would you report on it? And it's a lot, but in this world, we almost have to live there. But we do have Microsoft stepping up, right? That's huge. We have our government, I can't remember what I'm saying, the stepping up and doing good, but they are. And there's a lot of really good groups, and I know people involved on the government side in IT, and it is something that our government sees as important. I wish we would, be a little more open about what we're doing. But as you've seen, I mean, they just did the was it CISA, which is the new security infrastructure. I shouldn't say new, it's been around a while, but it's getting, they send out stuff to us like right now telling us that we are at a higher risk now than we were before because we are stepping up. And now that Microsoft is stepping up and Anonymous is stepping up. So now they're trying to do the same thing to us, meaning every little individual business, including right here at WLNI, they would love to shut you down, right? If they could just make a hiccup, that's all they want to do. They stop the internet, stop the communications, especially because you guys do such a good job, that would benefit them, right? So they go after groups like that. So right now, even the government's telling us that, right? So we're trying to stay on top of it, and what we can do to make sure that our customers are protected. And the thing is, if there's some magic bullet, there's not. Microsoft would have put it out and you wouldn't be getting an update every week, right? We get an update on everything because you find some type of, vulnerability, right? So there's a lot to what's going on in the industry. And I would tell people that something that Sherry actually was talking to me yesterday about is a really important thing. It's about trust. So Sherry, do you want to tell them what you told me about trust?
We talked a lot yesterday. I have to think back. So I think it needs to go back to, there's so much going on in the cyber world, right? When it comes to cyber industry, yes, we can have all the platforms. Yes, we can have every single safety precaution set in place. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the end user. If the end user is still kind of just trusting that link in that email or in that text message, SMS phishing is going out more so than ever. If they're still somehow trusting that link, saying, oh yeah, this is your bank, I need you to log in, and you click on it, it's not your bank. It's a hacker. Don't click on it. So if we can just kind of readjust our mindset to don't trust everything that you get on social media, on a text message, in a messenger on Facebook. You just want to kind of say, oh, is this really happening? Is this really my bank? If anything, go to your actual bank app or call your bank. There's other precautions that you can take other than clicking that link or trusting that link. Don't trust the link.
Be skeptical. Be skeptical.
Yes, always.
And one more thing, we've talked about the cyber attacks from within, but I'm reading about, people want to do good during all this, and they might want to contribute to the people of Ukraine. There might be certain websites, and the cyber attacks, if you're trying to donate money, you have to be very careful. Donate money or other resources, you have to be careful what you do, because they'll try to get you that way too.
There's a phishing campaign going on right now. So if you are supporting Ukrainian refugees, they will send you phishing emails, and it's a campaign, like a marketing campaign, but now cyber hackers are doing a campaign on phishing.
This is what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. So Tommy Vaughn and Sherry Arthur with Central Technology Solutions, thank you both so much for the update, and we'll talk to you again very soon. And teamcts.com is the website if people want more information about anything you've been talking about. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
8:23, we'll be right back.